Every day is for the thief, one day for the owner of the house. But ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, has reversed the role. It is now every day for the owner of the house. If you're involved in bribery, over-invoicing, or any shady deal, the day of reckoning has come. ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, is watching you. If you're reported for any corrupt practice, you'll be investigated, prosecuted, and punished. Corruption is harmful to our nation. Join the campaign against it by reporting any corrupt practice to ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Let we join hands with ICPC, make them better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they want to.
And for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Welcome to Corruption Must Go, ICPC's weekly television program. I am Hawa Garba. According to the National Population Commission's projection, Nigeria's total population in 2016 was projected to be over 193 million people. Youth population was estimated at over 61 million, or 31.7% of the total projected population. This is said to be one of the highest percentages of youth in any country. This now brings us to the question of who then is a youth. The United Nations defines the youth as those persons between the ages of 15 and 24 years. But the National Youth Policy of Nigeria 2009 describes the youth as all males and females aged 18 to 35 years. The policy says the youth represent the most active, the most volatile, and yet the most vulnerable segment of the Nigerian society. On this week's edition, we shall focus on the youth and anti-corruption. Also, we will bring you latest stories on anti-corruption, drama, ethics, and values. First, Joy Aja is on standby to bring you the latest updates on happenings in the anti-corruption scene.
Welcome to this segment on anti-corruption stories. I am Joy Aja. A 34-year-old man, Onyego Anayochukwu, has been charged to court by ICPC for allegedly procuring fake United States of America entry visa. ICPC, in a 3-count charge filed before Justice M.B. Idris of the Federal Capital Territory High Court, Apo, Abuja, accused Anayochukwu of forgery and making false statements to a constituted authority. Counsel to the commission, Enusa Omogibo, said before the court that the accused, while claiming to be a staff of the Federal Ministry of Labor, approached the U.S. Embassy in Abuja with fake documents to procure 6 entry visas to enable him and 5 others attend the 55th session of the Economic and Social Council Commission Conference in New York. The accused pleaded not guilty when the charge was read to him. His lawyer, Adetola Olulelu, asked the court to grant him bail in liberal terms pending the final determination of the case. Justice Idris granted the accused bail in the sum of 2 million naira and a surety in like sum. The surety must be a grade level 13 officer in the employment of the federal government. The matter was then adjourned to 7th March 2018 for hearing. ICPC has urged public servants in Nigeria to imbibe the culture of high ethical standards in public service in order to shun corruption. The acting chairman of the commission, Honorable Bako Abdullahi, who was represented by Assistant Commissioner Mr. Justin Kwatsier of Corruption Monitoring and Evaluation Department, made the call during the inauguration and induction of the Anti-Corruption and Transparency Unit of Community Health Practitioners Registration Board recently. Honorable Abdullahi said ICPC has a tripartite mandate which includes enforcement, prevention, education, and public enlightenment, as enshrined in the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000. And as such, Act 2 is expected to carry out all the functions of the Commission except prosecution.
The Act 2 is one of the methods through which the ICPC has tried to realize its mandate in the fight against corruption in Nigeria. It has all the powers of the ICPC minus the power of prosecution. They do not prosecute. But the unit is empowered to carry out preliminary investigations into matters that might be brought before them, both by management and from reports or complaints that they might have in the workplace. They are also to look at systems, processes, and procedures that are at work in the organization, and where, in their opinion, they are prone to corrupt practices, they are to review them. We call it system study and review mechanism. They are also to educate the members of staff on and against the ills of corruption. Very key. The ICPC believes very much in that aspect of fighting corruption, engaging with stakeholders, educating them, enlightening them.
Earlier, the acting registrar of the board, Mr. Muhammad Adebayo, expressed his gratitude over the activities of ICPC and assured that the management was ready to support the unit in its effort to curb corruption in the organization.
As the chief executive of this establishment, I pledge that I will give the unit the necessary cooperation.
In his remarks, the acting chairman, Mr. Sunday Bankole, said that the unit under his leadership would ensure compliance with due process and other extant regulations guiding the operations of the board. You are still watching Anti-Corruption Stories. A 35-year-old Ghanaian, Mutaru Mumuni Mukhtar, has become the first ever youth to become African Man of the Year, an award which was organized recently by Daily Trust. ICPC was a guest at the event. Mukhtar, the first of 16 siblings, is executive director of West Africa's Center for Counter-Terrorism, a non-profit organization focused on counter-extremism research and outreach in West Africa. In his acceptance speech, Mukhtar described leadership failure and corruption as some of the major reasons youth engage in extremism and radicalism.
Corruption is one of the very main drivers of frustration and radicalization in Africa. And so in my word, I see corruption as one of the collection of problems and factors that leads individuals to engage in terrorism. And so yes, corruption is a big problem. It's a factor that can motivate individuals to engage in terrorism. So we engage people from the local community, especially in the educational institutions, to be able to build the values of ethics, ethical values, to fight against corruption sustainably. What I intend to do is we work in an area that is hugely challenged in terms of funding. There are a lot of issues that we need to deal with to be able to do more of what we currently do. I'm looking to set up, expand something I've already started. It's a peace network within educational institutions. We need to handle these problems of terrorism and corruption and similar issues within the youth and young people, because we believe that young people are the people who can sustainably provide solutions to this continent. And terrorism, for instance, for a fact, cannot be won on the battlefield. It can be won only in the mindsets of people, especially young people. And so we're looking to expand the peace network within West Africa. And so this is one of the main things I will channel these funds into.
Mukhtar works with local communities and youth groups in countering the foundation of violent extremism and radicalization in vulnerable communities. The story of Mukhtar is a wake-up call for all African youth to contribute positively in making their world a better place. That will be all on this segment. Corruption Must Go continues. Stay with us.
If you are just tuning in, this is Corruption Must Go. Youths are supposed to be one of the greatest assets that any nation can have. Not only are they regarded as the future leaders, they are potentially the greatest investment for a country's development. The extent of their vitality, responsible conduct, and roles they play in the society is positively correlated with the development of that society. Unfortunately, today the youths are riddled with problem of corruption, ranging from examination malpractices to fraud and embezzlement. Although there are no hardcore statistics available, young people constitute the most vulnerable segment of the Nigerian population to criminal activities. Our crew went out to speak with Nigerians on some of the corrupt practices prevalent among the youths. Take a look at this.
Are the youths involved in corruption?
Yes, very well, ma'am.
Can you share with us some of the corrupt practices that youths are involved in?
There are so many corrupt practices youth get involved in. For example, like cheating in exams, or so many occasions when we write our exams in class. You see somebody that writes with the wisdom the person has gotten from reading his or her material. Then you see some other person that bring out their phone or maybe a piece of paper that they wrote something on just to write and pass. And some other time, those people that cheat actually pass more than those that studied and worked hard for it.
Are the youths involved in corruption?
Yes, they are in a whole lot of ways.
Can you share with us some of corrupt practices common amongst youth?
Okay, common amongst youth, especially in this kind of environment that I am as a student. We see a lot of students who participate in examination malpractice. Others sought for questions before they even come out. And those students who read for their exam, they tend to fail more than those that even sought and participate in examination malpractice. And that is a corrupt practice if you ask me. So then in other form of ways, such as, when someone is given power, responsibility in power, there's a saying that power corrupts actually. So taking our SUG platform, for instance, there are people who you rapport with very well on normal basis, but after they are given responsibilities, there's some sort of change that they undergo, and it's not really wonderful to say. Like, they just isolate you in such a way because you're not into politics with them. And more often, we hear cases of money embezzlement and all of that, even in departments and in other areas. So definitely, youth are involved in corrupt practices.
In terms of some internet stuffs, like you see incoming students that they gave admission newly, and due to the fact that they don't know their way about with the way to go things and pay school fees and thereabout. You see some other students who are youths who know more about internet, and knowing that these people are, we call them freshers in the school, knowing that these people are just newly intake students, they tend to use the advantage of them, like asking them to pay school fees, giving them their ATM to pay school fees, while, like, for instance, now it is not yet time for students to start paying school fees, but right now we've heard some news that some students have already started paying school fees to who? Those are those people that are involved in this corruption, and they end up not giving them receipts, and thereabouts the student will end up paying another school fees again.
ICPC, as an anti-corruption commission, recognizes that the youth are an important ally in the fight against corruption, because as they develop into adults, they carry with them the values they learn in their youths and will become the next generation of leaders. Mrs. Azuka Ogugwa of ICPC Education Department will tell us efforts the commission has made so far in engaging with the Nigerian youths in the fight against corruption.
Okay, among Nigerian youths, there are various forms of corrupt practices, and one of them is exam malpractice. That is one of the most prevalent forms. Now, exam malpractice can take many forms. It includes giving bribes to be allowed to bring in paper into the exam halls. It includes things like offering money for marks, or even offering your body for marks, sex for marks. It happens among the students and teacher relationship. Exam malpractice includes all forms of cheating in the exam hall that we can't exhaust here, including writing, bringing things, writing on your hand, bringing in paper, bringing in materials that are not supposed to be brought in. These are some of the corrupt practices among the youths. Another thing that the youths do is certificate falsification. Because in our society, there is this craving for certificates. What qualification do you have? Many of the youths are under pressure to bring certificates showing that they have acquired a level of education or the other. And so we have situations where they forge these certificates. And again, among the youths, we have the cyber crimes. Most of the youths are on the internet all the time. And so they falsify their profiles and present themselves to be people who they are not, and ask for money, dupe people on the internet. These are some of the corrupt practices we have among the youths.
Okay. In your opinion, how can it be curbed?
Well, these corrupt practices can be curbed first by starting from the family. The family is the first point for every child, and the family socializes a child into the society. So a family has the responsibility of teaching the right values and exemplifying the right values. The parents must exemplify honesty, accountability, transparency, discipline, and hard work, so that the child will take on these values. A child that is taught respect and all these values will grow up exhibiting these values in the society. This is the basic way that it is curbed. Charity begins at home. And of course, as the child grows into the school system, the school has to teach values. The school has to exemplify values, teach hard work and diligence, and the reward for diligence. So these ways, these malpractices are curbed. There are other ways to curb malpractices. You can curb malpractices by putting in place the adequate system. Like in exam malpractice, you put in place adequate system to make sure that the children don't cheat, and if they are cheat, they are caught. You can put in place computer-based tests instead of manual tests to stop cheating. Then, of course, there are other things that can be done to prevent falsification and cyber crime. But another way is by prosecuting offenders. If you find offenders that are caught doing these things, they should be charged to court so that others will learn. Others will take that, will take this as an example and do the right thing.
Can you share with us the efforts ICPC has put in place to engage the youth in the crusade against corruption?
Thank you very much. ICPC has done a lot in working with the youth to prevent corruption. And one of the first things ICPC did is the formation of the National Values Curriculum. The National Values Curriculum is a curriculum that was developed to embed core values into school subjects, so that by the time a child goes through primary school, secondary school, JSS, SSS, and tertiary institution, he comes out having learnt these core values, not as a subject on its own, but as part of existing subjects such as English language, civic education, and so many other subjects. So the child is taught honesty, integrity, this hard work, courage, value for good relationship, family values, traditional values, even religious values. A child who has learned all these things will come out being conscious of the fact that he or she is supposed to do the right thing. The National Values Curriculum is one of the ways ICPC is making sure that the youths are aware and imbibe these positive values in their lives at the young age. Another way is formation of clubs and vanguards. In primary school, secondary school, and universities and tertiary institutions, ICPC is forming anti-corruption clubs and vanguards that will help to teach the children the values too in a positive way, and allow them to speak out, interact with other children, and discuss issues that concern them. Issues that have to do with the situations they face at home and the situations they face in school. And in this way, the students have the opportunity to display their skills, like writing skills, cartooning skills, their use of social media, drama skills in these clubs. ICPC also visits NYSC camps to deliver sensitization lectures, and we distribute IEC materials such as handbills, t-shirts, face caps, wristbands that contain ICPC toll-free numbers, encouraging these youths to call and report corruption. And of course, we have had 1 or 2 youth competitions like essay competitions, debating competitions, where we get these youths from the different schools and get them to sit down, discuss the different pros and cons about corruption in the society. These are some of the ways ICPC fights corruption and engages the youth in the fight against corruption.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Corruption not in my country.
Yes.
Good day, sir.
Good day.
Sir, I'm here in line with my score in the last final exams.
What about your score?
You gave me 55%, sir.
Oh! You scored 25%.
Sir, you didn't add my continuous assessment. If you did,
I told you that! During rain semester, you failed. It means you have 1 extra year to go.
Oh, sir, please, I beg you in the name of God. I can't afford to have an extra year.
Why are you begging it?
Please, sir, my mother is depending on my graduation, so I can cater for my younger ones. Please, sir. Let's just meet somewhere. Continuous assessment. I'll give it to you. I'll give you continuous assessment. Everything. Just
stop! This is corruption, not in my country!
Stop corruption now!
Corruption not in my country.
The nation belongs to its youth. They are a significant part of its present and the future. What they do today will reflect in the society tomorrow. To live in a society that is corruption-free, we need youths with the understanding of the rules of governance, which include accountability, transparency, and integrity. If youths contribute to nation building, our dream of a corruption-free society will not be too far away. That's our package on this week's edition. You can make inquiries and suggestions via our toll-free numbers as shown on the screen. You can also watch the program on YouTube channel www.youtube.com/ICPC Nigeria. Thank you for staying with us. I am Hawa Garba saying bye for now.